You know what it is. I'm Parlay Hunter.
You know who it is. It's Life of D Green, man.
And today we are on a very special Bro Bets episode, our third annual 49ers special podcast, where we have a super fan in the building with the Bro Bets guys. Today we got our guy Reese in the building. What is good, Reese?
What's happening?
Yes,
Very
sir.
like the
So,
like the like the look today, man. I like the hat. I don't even know what is that. You want to shout out somebody real quick?
Niners, baby. That's what I'm
Oh,
shouting
that's a
out.
Niners. Oh, I didn't know
Yep,
that was a Niners hat. That thing is in
that's a
cursive.
Niners hat.
I'm kind of illiterate.
Nice.
yeah, that's a fresh cap.
It
And that's
is.
a very nice painting you got behind you, Reese. You doing some street art. You know,
Yeah, a little
we'll
bit.
have to
I do my thing a little bit.
drop the at the end so that people can find you.
Oh
And
yeah.
so, first things first, it was a great first week of football. We're going to talk about the Niners mostly. But we do want to talk about Tyreek Hill and the incident real quick about what happened and how unacceptable that was as he was getting into the stadium to play his game and what we saw before the game. So there's already a police report and an investigation going on and some things going on. But Dre, if you want to real quick talk about it and Reese talk about it and I'll talk about it, just give it a little bit of what we saw and how it affected us before Sunday.
Yeah. I'll let our guest go first, man. I'll let our guest go first always.
Yeah. I mean, it was pretty wild to see, a guy especially of that status and caliber in the city of Miami. I mean, it's not like they don't know who he is. Have something like that happen to him, regardless of what was said or done. That level of just kind of aggression, I don't think it was really needed, no matter what. But I had a feeling that he was gonna have a big game after that. I had a feeling he was gonna go off if he played, and then he did. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, just to agree with Reese, I think the main thing I take it away is that second part is the fact that now it's funny. We always look for this, and Parlay, we always talk about this, and it's early in the year to say, but this is bulletin board material, like, and it's from an actual serious matter, a real social serious matter that he was detained, and kind of the attitude behind it, because it was very much like they the police officer who did it, he was on leave right away. Like everything was handled in the sense of like they knew they were in trouble. And so now I feel like the league will investigate, they'll do what they got to do. But from the standpoint for the Dolphins and for Tyreek Hill, when I thought he would take a step back, like I think he's gonna go even crazier. But one thing I did say, I said something to somebody earlier, bro. Although this happened to him, the way he's kind of going gives me a little AB feel, bro. And I don't like it in that way. He's starting to get to a point where he's like that dude, like he's the best receiver in the league by far. I mean, better than Jefferson. Respect to all the receivers, but he just is that guy, and he just starting to get his money. And he reminds me of kind of how Antonio Brown started to act later with us. And I just hope he doesn't kind of go into that, morph into that mentally, and then some crazy shit happens because Cheetah's kind of crazy off the field.
yeah, he is a little bit, but he's definitely got to keep his head on straight. So,
Yeah, yeah.
time will tell.
Yeah, just the fact that it was a traffic stop violation and you see him on the ground, I mean, you just know that it looks like racism, and we see it, and totally like made everybody stop before the game and then have a moment, and think like, really, like this is happening right before a game. So, I mean, the NFL, they they've had their battles with in the media with racism and everything. We were talking about Colin Kaepernick last week, and still like the stuff that happens, with racism and these football players and the spotlight that's on them, we're all gonna see it and we're gonna talk about it. So it was another one of those moments, and I just hope that there's justice for Tyreek, and I hope that we can continue to have these discussions, but they can stop because we don't want to keep seeing this stuff happen. But we got to keep talking about it and holding people accountable. And policeman, it's getting really ugly. And of course, we want to live in a better world. So I hope that the NFL does something and the Miami police do something, and we'll see what happens, but it's not right. A traffic violation, that just looks really messed up.
Yeah, we
So,
got to put the real criminals in jail. I wish the NFL and New Jersey would do something about Daniel Jones. I'm just getting tired of watching that, and I don't want this trauma for my dear friend over there. Living in Yonkers, it's getting very very out of hand. The fucking Vikings putting up 28. That's
hey,
wild.
don't
With a
sleep on
backup
Sam
quarterback.
Darnold, right?
Sam Darnold's a good player.
I mean, he was in that 49er system, so that's a good transition to get on into the Niners and see what they're going
No,
to be about this year.
sidebar about Sam Darnold. This is the first real shot that he's ever had in the NFL. He was think about it. He was on a horrible Jets team.
He had a Carolina shot. Carolina's trash, but he had
It was even worse. They were horrible.
They were a bad team. Yeah.
Okay.
The Vikings. Hey, Sam Darnold will be starting over JJ McCarthy right now, even if he was
100%.
healthy. The Vikings got a ball player in Sam Darnold. It just sucks that Jordan Addison got injured.
Yeah. They seem to get out of their own way this season, but Sam Darnold can play.
That boy, the rookie too from Bama, he gonna be like that.
Oh, Turner.
Turner is he's a man child. He's a man child for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get on with the 49ers talk. We got our special guest here, a super fan. First things we want to talk about with the 49ers right now, they keep landing into this spot in the playoffs where they lose, they get to the top of the mountain, and then they fall off. They never quite conquer the job. Reese, we want to ask you, how do the 49ers get over the Buffalo Bills hump and finally win a Super Bowl?
I hope so. But no, in all seriousness, we can. It's just a matter of, really, like you said, getting out of your own way. I think in the playoffs, Kyle Shanahan tends to stick to his play sheet a little too much. He ignores the kind of flow of what's happening in the game and says, this is what I have planned out, so this is what I'm going to call. And I think that doesn't all the time work to his benefit, as you saw in the last 2 Super Bowls that we were in, having a 10-point lead in both of those games and late in the game. 6 minutes left in the one in 2019. And I think we were, up by 10 early in the one last year. But regardless, a 10-point lead's a 10-point lead. You got to kind of hit the gas at that point. But I think he gets in his play sheet a little bit too much. And I just really think it's overall execution. The team just kind of seems to fall apart there in the final, 5 minutes of the game in all of these, heartbreaking losses, other than the one where Purdy got hurt. And that was kind of a, different circumstance there. But so that's what it comes down to. I think it's, overall execution and better play calling on offense to manage the game.
My question to you would be, this year defensively, there's been some changes. Every year, every team, even if you bring back majority of guys, are going to look different. I'm not as confident in the defense this year than I was last year, even though you bringing pretty much everybody back. I just think that gel of having, that same spark is got to be there. And I don't know how consistent that will be this year for the defense. What can you say? How are you really looking from a depth perspective as well?
From a depth perspective, I think we're good on defense. I think what we did was we added a lot of depth on the defensive line this year, which we didn't have in previous years. I think Bosa's in for a really big season because this is the first time that he's ever had a double-digit sack pass rusher on the opposite side of him. He's had some guys who have been on paper pretty good, but they never really panned out. Chase Young didn't really pan out. D Ford never really panned out. And other than that, it's been some kind of journeyman on that other defensive end spot that he's played with. We've always been solid at defensive tackle, which we still are. We lost Eric Armstead, but we gained some really good players in between. And then we got a lot more depth at D end as well. So I think having Leonard Floyd on that other side is going to allow for Bosa to really kind of get loose. He doesn't have to get double teamed as much. They don't have to move him around as much. And we'll miss Dre Greenlaw for the first probably half of the season. Let's really be honest. Tearing your Achilles in the Super Bowl, you don't really just come back week 1 from that. Yeah. But I think we're stronger in the secondary as well. I mean, Diamador Lenore is coming into his own. Travarius Ward is, you know, one of the better man corners in the game. We're getting Hufanga back from injury, and you know, it just leaves the door wide open for possibilities. So we got some good rookies in there too. I mean, Malik Mustafa showed a lot of promise in the preseason. So, I mean, I feel good about the defense, and it's just a different look. It's just a lot fewer big names than we're used to.
You mentioned a lot of big names that didn't pan out, that didn't work out. Chase Young was a big name you mentioned. So, like, the blame for that, does that fall, you know, on John Lynch? Like, what's your criticism or critique of John Lynch? He's you know, one of the most famous GMs because of his name and what, you know, his legendary career as a football player. So, like, what is your criticism of his GM and whatnot? And, like, if you think that, is he on the hot seat, or is somebody on the hot seat in there?
No, I don't. I wouldn't say anybody's on the hot seat unless the team starts losing, and I mean like really losing. Like, you know, we had that one bad season in 2020 due to a bunch of injuries. But that's kind of, you know, that's football, and you can't really control that. But I wouldn't say that neither John Lynch or Kyle Shanahan's on the hot seat, especially not Lynch. And I mean, you know, he gets a lot of heat for his contract negotiations. How there's, you know, the last 3 years we've had a holdout, whether it's Trent Williams, Brandon Ayuk, Nick Bosa, you know, whoever it is that's been holding out, Deebo Samuel the year before that. But he can build a team, and that's undeniable that he can build a team. I mean, if you look at where the roster was and what they did with it and where it's at now, I mean, any GM, I feel like in the NFL, if you just were looking at it on paper, would take that 49ers roster. I mean, almost regardless of what they currently have. So
what do you think, though, when the Trey Lance thing didn't pan out, and how much you had to, you know, sacrifice for that move that he made?
You know, I really, in all honesty, I don't think it's so much that it wasn't that Trey Lance didn't pan out, because Trey Lance really never got a true opportunity. I think it was that Brock Purdy ended up just really being that guy, because you can even go back and listen to it when Kyle Shanahan, you know, he told John Lynch when it was, they were all three rookies and they had Jimmy G, Trey Lance, and Brock Purdy all in camp. And he goes to John Lynch and says, I think our number 3 is our best quarterback. Talking about Brock Purdy. And I mean, they just drafted Trey Lance. Jimmy G was making $20 million a year. So, you know, I really think it's not so much that Trey Lance didn't pan out, which, you know, it looks bad because they spent so many picks on him, but it's more so that Brock Purdy did. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Hey.
And so, yeah, we lost a lot of draft capital, but if you look at it now, that it's all pretty much said and done, that trade is pretty much, you know, seen itself out. Yeah, Miami got a lot better from it, and the Niners really didn't gain anything. But did the Niners get any worse? No.
My next question would probably be, the biggest thing with you all, we always say it's availability, is who y'all got week in, week out, and a lot of that tests to just how y'all practice. I mean, I respect Shanahan. I love the mentality, physical football, and everything like that, but you know, you, like you said, executing and sticking to the game plan. But I believe too, you got to make some adjustments, even in the tenure. They called for Mike Tomlin's head a couple of years ago, even last year. And I think Mike Tomlin has adjusted his ways per se. The standard is still the standard, but he's adjusted certain things. And so I think from a practice standpoint, you think is, you know, we don't get to see the behind the scenes of everything, but wouldn't you say that's an important value or factor if it's a boom or bust this year and keeping Trent Williams there? Deebo, my lord, you throw a fucking pillow at that nigga, you're gonna be done. Like you got to keep people on the field this year for the 49ers.
Yeah.
I respect, because I respect y'all because y'all good. So I don't want no more excuses for y'all, is what I'm saying. I want y'all to try to get there on the simple fact that y'all got everybody healthy, going into a Super Bowl too, not just going to the playoffs. No, going into a Super Bowl and seeing if y'all can defeat whoever's on that other end. And you know, we 9 times out of 10 we know it's going to be Kansas City. You know, and can y'all really get over that hump?
Yeah, I mean, and that's a good question, and I think it's a little bit of a daunting thing for us now, because we've lost, you know, 2 Super Bowls to the Chiefs, and lost to them, I think 3 times in the last, 2 years, 3 years. And so yeah, it seems like a hurdle that we can't get over, but that doesn't mean that we don't have just as good a shot as they do to win that game. On any given Sunday, any team can get beat. So, that's just kind of the way that you have to look at it, because if you look at it any other way, then you've already lost. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's hard to say, what the team's mentality is, but at the end of the day, everybody's got the same goal, and the goal doesn't change whether you won it the year before, you lost it the year before, you didn't even make the playoffs. It's the same goal. So, no matter who's, like you said, no matter who's on that other side, whether it's the Chiefs or it's the Browns or whoever, it doesn't matter. You got to still show up and play football.
Yeah. No,
All
I
right,
agree. I agree. Go ahead, Parlay.
No, you go ahead.
Something.
Sorry, I was gonna.
I was just gonna say, to just continue on that point, is that I feel like exactly what Reese said is, yeah, they are just as prepared, just as good on paper in the Super Bowl. But when we look at and examine the Super Bowl at the end, I just feel like it was injuries and it was gas. It feel like Kansas City was more in shape for it. It was like a heavyweight fight, and Kansas City just was like they lasted longer in that heavyweight fight.
We threw our haymakers early and we landed a couple. And I think really, honestly, what took a lot of wind out of us was that early fumble, because we were rolling down the field and then McCaffrey put it on the carpet. And, it's hard to come back from that. And even though it didn't end up costing us anything, because we still ended up going up 10 points early, a 17-point lead and a 10-point lead are two very different things in the NFL. You know what I mean? And it basically was, in a game like that, it's a race to 30 points, essentially. It's like 5 to 30 points, and it's whoever can get there first is probably going to win. And Kansas City got there. They struck the final blow. And yeah, I agree. They outlasted us, and was what it really came down to. And this is why I say that Kyle Shanahan needs to get out of his play sheet a little bit, is because I think that he loses touch with the flow of the game. And because he's like, well, my plan is worked up to this point, I'm going to stay on it, as to where if he's like, okay, you're, hammering this, and then all of a sudden you're like, all right, I'm going to throw in a crazy wrinkle. And then that wrinkle doesn't work. I mean, it kind of kills all momentum.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
And I think that happens to them a lot. When you look at it, is, and you look at the first Super Bowl, they get criticized because they didn't run the ball enough at the end of the game. And then they had to rely on Jimmy G to make a big throw. And, as we all know, how he, didn't make it. And then it's the same thing last year. I mean, we were pretty much doing everything that we wanted to do, and we just made some mistakes. And if you really want to get into the technical side about it, it came down to 2 missed blocks. And it was Chris Jones basically won them the game because he commanded too much attention. And we missed Trent McDuffie on a blitz.
On that blitz, yeah.
Missed the 3rd down. And then on that last play where he just had to throw it away, Juwan Jennings is wide open in the end zone, but he had a free rush.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, it just it's little things like that that can really make or break the whole game. Because if we score a touchdown there and then KC's got to go, it's the pressure's on them, it's a lot different approach to it. But go ahead.
No, I hear what you're saying. Just explosive plays this year. They need more explosive plays. Way more in the offense. I'm saying the passing game needs to be opened up a little bit more.
Well, and the thing that I think is different this year is what we haven't had is the addition of some new coaches. I mean, this is the first time that there'll be like a true assistant head coach. I mean, we hired Brandon Staley is going to be, the assistant head coach. And I think that that's one of those things where that's going to get Kyle Shanahan out of his play sheet, because he's going to have another set of eyes watching everything that he's watching. And he's going to say, all right, we're doing this. And he's going to say, whoa, hold on. We've been doing this this is working. Why don't we just keep doing this? You know what I mean? Yeah. I think it will allow them to have a lot more cohesive game plan. And the same thing on the defensive side of the ball too. No knock against our previous defensive coordinator, who unfortunately was let go after the Super Bowl, but he wasn't right for that position. He's a DB coach who's, that's his background, is coaching the secondary, coaching a team whose strength is their front seven. It just was backwards, and they played backwards because he was running the defense from the secondary forward, not from the defensive line back.
Mhm.
Yeah, he got a lot of blame for that loss in the Super Bowl, I remember. But you guys have great memories remembering those plays. I'm like, wow, that's memory like a steel trap, you guys. That's good work. But those are some great points, Reese. Now, okay, I want to go back to Brock Purdy, and you know, like we talk about like Mahomes, and now we have like like quarterbacks are starting to get like really really good. So Brock Purdy, he's probably he's going to get re-signed. And do you give him the biggest contract in the NFL because it's his time and his moment? Like that's what people are going to be talking about, and maybe he will. But he's going to have to do some things better, right? And so I want to ask you, even if they create a great team around him, like they have, a great running back, great defensive players, great offensive players, great tight end, like all these, a lot of help. So let's say he still has that help, but you would have to think that, George Kittle doesn't come around that easy. CMC doesn't come around, and Purdy's career is 10 years looking ahead. These guys, their careers 3 years looking ahead. So what does Brock Purdy have to do better to elevate this team when they're going to be lacking at other positions? What is, as he grows and he develops, he's still really young, but pretty soon he's not going to be so young anymore, and he's going to have to start doing some things better. So from your standpoint, and you as you critique him and watch him throw, what does he got to do better to compete with with the Mahomes and
Yeah.
and the Goffs and the Anthony Richardsons?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at just kind of his demeanor, like over the years of like where he started and where he is now, his first year when he was just, when they got kind of thrust into the fire and, he's tossed into the middle of a game and not knowing what to expect. He was just, I'm just, just trying to do my job. I'm just one of the guys, I'm just going as far as they lead me. Well, now he's the leader. He's the captain of this team. He has command of the offense. And so then that goes into, from now you're getting coached to you're doing the coaching. You're telling the receivers, I want you out at 7 yards, not 5. I want you, to undercut this one a little bit more, or, hit the gas a little harder on this route so you can get there so I can beat him to the spot. Like whatever it is, he's now has to be in a position where he's coaching these guys and telling them where he wants them and commanding that offense, as opposed to other guys telling him how to be and how to move within the system.
Do you have a better idea of what his comparison is now? Because I think people were saying Tom Brady, like during the whole.
I think he got the Brady comparisons because of how his career started. The franchise guy, the $100 million guy, goes down with an injury on, a random week in the season, and you're just put into the game, and then you just go. And so I think that's where the Brady comparisons drew. I mean, if you look at Tom Brady, even just physically, they're not even close. Tom Brady is, 6'4", 6'5", very, pocket, sturdy, statue, that kind of quarterback. Purdy is a shorter guy. He's a little more mobile. He's got kind of the stockier build, so he can kind of, move around and take a little more damage. To me, I mean, if you're really going to be comparing him, I think he's almost like a Russell Wilson.
I was gonna say more Drew Brees a little.
Yeah, I think he's like a Drew Brees, Russell Wilson kind of hybrid. Because if you look at his build, he's built like a Russell Wilson. He's shorter, he has the longest arms. Because Brees was small. Like, I mean, like let's be real.
I'm saying from the throwing ability, like his anticipation reminds me of Drew Brees.
Yeah, I agree with that.
He's a very on time thrower. Like
he throws with a lot of anticipation and timing. Which again, he gets a lot of heat for, because he sometimes puts the ball in harm's way, and it's gotten picked off before, as you saw in the game against Minnesota last year, in the game against Baltimore last year. He threw some pretty bad interceptions, and that's just kind of comes with the territory of being more of like a gunslinging type quarterback. And I think it's funny that he got the narrative of a check down guy when he had the highest yards per completion percentage in the NFL last year, one of the highest. So, I like him overall. I think he is the franchise guy. You have to ride with him with just the body of work that he's put in. And you know, the sky's the limit for him. It really is.
I was wondering, Parlay, where you got that. I don't know where you just randomly said Golf and Anthony Richardson. Like, there's not 7 guys that are better than them 2 guys, like, or at least 5. I mean, Golf is in that 7,
Anthony
maybe.
Richardson like
You were like, oh,
games, so
Brock Purdy and Jared Goff and Anthony Richardson. No CJ Stroud, no Tua, no Dak Prescott, no Lamar Jackson, no Patrick Mahomes, no Josh Allen. By the way, Josh Allen, hey.
Yeah.
He's all right. He's all right.
Hey, I was surprised yesterday, but I see now. Okay.
Yup.
All right. Well, I think we'll that's enough 49ers talk. Real quick, middle of the podcast, we just or middle end of the podcast. There's been some news about the halftime performer for the Super Bowl, and we got news that it's going to be Kendrick Lamar, and we all know who made that call. The guy upstairs, Hove, Jay-Z.
Yeah. Wait, first of all, how did he make that? How did he make that call? Because I'm still not understanding that. Everybody keeps saying that. What does he? What he has to do?
He chooses basically because he like works. They hired him to basically run that. So he chooses.
So that's why Rihanna was in there, and yeah.
It's been hip hop the last like 3 shows.
Okay.
Right. So Hove made that call. Kendrick is going to be performing at the halftime show now. It's been a really great summer for Kendrick. Had his smash hit, Not Like Us. He had the beef with Drake. And Kendrick is having a moment right now. Now, with that being said, a lot of people were expecting Lil Wayne to get the call to perform because it's in New Orleans. And, it seems like, Lil Wayne, the GOAT status that he has, everyone was kind of assuming he was going to get it. So, real quick, just want to get your guys' thoughts on the whole situation. Should it be Kendrick? Should it be Lil Wayne? Where do you stand?
Easy.
Well, personally, I think that Wayne should at least have an appearance, regardless of who it is. Whether it could be, Hootie and the Blowfish, and I still think Lil Wayne should have a cameo. But
I love Hootie and the Blowfish. I love Darius Rucker.
But you know what I'm saying? And so regardless of who it is, I think Wayne should be involved in it somehow, just because he is New Orleans. Like, he is the New Orleans like rap. Like, that's him. Mm-hmm. But as far as it being Kendrick, it's a money play for the NFL. He's the hottest shit out right now. He had the biggest song of the year. And they're riding this wave of of rap music and hip hop and R&B at the Super Bowl, because it was, man, we had years and years and years of classic rock, and I think people got a little tired of it.
I mean, the real question is, if he doesn't do the song, then it's no point.
He's gonna do Not Like Us.
Yeah,
that's gonna do that.
No doubt he's gonna do that.
And see, as a Jersey fan, as a Kendrick fan, I mean, that turns that fucks Drake up in a like.
Does it though?
It doesn't, but on the grand scheme of like, on the scale of being on like real national, like when everyone's tuned in, like everyone is tuned in. Like, to play a diss track, that is the greatest diss track. Nobody has got to this level. Nobody, sure. No Ether, no Pac, no Biggie has got to this level of receiving an honor based off of what you did this summer.
Yeah, if he performs that at the Super Bowl, it's the biggest diss track in the history of music.
So, I mean, I respect it, but no, I'm definitely like Wayne all the way, bro. Him, Juvie, the whole Cash Money, the whole No Limits. Like, I just feel like they could have did something just like they did for LA, like with Snoop, and you could get whole No Limits and have Master P and them come out there, and then you can get Cash Money, and then it could have been Wayne mixed with that. It could have been Wayne as a main artist, and then mix all the whole New Orleans in there, bro.
And this is why I also thought, like, Kendrick was an odd choice, is because he just had a whole section of the performance when it was in LA in 2020.
Yeah,
like there was a whole part featuring Kendrick, like where he performed his own songs and everything. So like, it just seemed a little strange that they chose him again. But again, that's why I think it's a money play, because who's bigger than him right now at this
Yeah.
moment. Who's a bigger rapper than
Yeah.
Kendrick Lamar that's actually putting out music? Because like you can still argue Drake, but I mean Kendrick is, he had the summer of his life, so they're just
Yeah.
riding the wave.
Yeah. It's just hard for me because if they're trying to do it like based off of whose city it is, like it's tough because it's like you're gonna bring the Cali culture to New Orleans and it's wild.
Right. It doesn't
It's
make it
completely different.
right.
Yeah,
It
it's
doesn't,
usually, to me, the way I'm thrown off is because it's usually like a legend who performs at the Super Bowl. It's not like
Yeah.
it's not like a current name. It's always somebody who's like,
Kendrick, you could consider Kendrick a legend off of his body of work at this point,
Yeah,
even
yeah.
before,
absolutely.
even before everything this summer.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, for sure. That's a good point. But
But usually it's somebody old, it's somebody older is the thing.
Yeah.
yeah. Look, Wayne, if Wayne was performing, Drake would have came out. So I asked the question.
Would he though? Would he have though?
Would he though? I don't know.
Oh
Is
yeah, I
that-
think
I'm with
Nicki
Reese.
and Drake and the Hot
No,
Boys.
I don't think
know
Wayne
Drake
needs
comes
Drake.
out.
Wayne doesn't need Drake, nor does I don't think
don't
he goes that angle. I don't think he goes that angle. I think he goes the angle of Cash Money. That's why it's so. And I think you know what, bro. I'm still optimistic that they might change it. They say what they want to say. You still have time to change the shit. Like,
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
I don't think they'll
I
change
can't
it.
see them going back on it now because then that looks real bad for Kendrick. But
I mean, I feel like he would have brought out the Hot Boys and Drake because I don't think you don't write.
nah, I don't think he bring
Wayne-
Drake out in this setting.
All right, we'll disagree to disagree. We'll never know.
no, we'll never know.
We'll never know.
know.
Blame it on you,
think Drake,
Hillmeyer.
I don't even think Drake will ever headline a Super Bowl by himself.
See, some people
No.
thought Drake would have headlined before Kendrick because he has more hits.
But Drake disses America. He kind of slight does for how much he loves
Yeah.
America.
Sure.
He's a Canadian. He's not really like I fuck with Drake, but it's like he always like it's not like he's American. And it's not I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's just like the people that really running this, no offense, Hillmeyer, the upper white guys that got the money, Trump, who got a say in this shit, they like fuck that. If you ain't gonna really support the flag, bro, it's one of those. Like, why do you think Kendrick had the
Interesting.
flag behind him in the trailer? Bro?
Yeah.
Hey, yeah.
Aggressive propaganda, like that was kind of slap in the face to Drake. Like, fuck you.
It's always like you got to
Not
think
wrong.
about.
I said you're not wrong.
Yeah,
You
and
bet.
like Hove is making this decision also though thinking the song Not Like Us, like that's so pro-black. Like I feel like Hove is trying to, like also make
Yeah.
a point about being
I agree.
pro-black.
They said him and Wayne got beef though. Or
Right,
some
they do.
slight.
They do. Yeah.
I thought they were cool.
Nobody's cool. Like Cameron and Mace said that Hove basically blocked them from going to Fanatics. They're all from New York. Like and they were saying it's petty. Like Hove, they were basically saying Hove is petty.
This is crazy because I swear I just
Yeah.
seen Lil Wayne and Hove at Fanatics weekend
Yeah.
on Instagram, but it is what it is.
I
Yeah.
can see it.
They
though.
were together a week ago.
That's why I'm saying like this is weird, bro.
No, I can
Anyways,
see it.
Fun stuff. All right, so let's move on, Dre, real quick, and Reese will definitely have something to say. Let's talk a little college football for 2 minutes.
man, hey, the game of the week last week, the Longhorns went into Ann Arbor. Reese, you can take the floor, my friend.
What is there to say? It was a thorough beatdown from top to bottom. We look good. Our offensive line looks big, strong, experienced. Quinn Ewers was sharp. He was delivering the ball accurate and on time. Even missing a couple of skill positions. We're down a running back. The room is still strong. Looks good. We have depth at receiver, and people thought we were going to have a problem this year with losing Adonai Mitchell and losing Xavier Worthy. But we reloaded. I mean, we are officially in that class of the SEC. Sark has built a strong culture. a winning
I
culture.
fuck with Sark, bro. I ain't gonna lie.
Um,
I think that's why I think I respect Texas. Like Sark, he got a black wife. I
yeah,
fuck with Sark. He
Sark is
different.
for real.
He different. He
He's
different.
built something strong there, and I mean, he built something where people want to go. I mean, we're flipping 4 and 5 star commits from other schools left and right. I
Every
mean,
day.
the way guys are transferring, the way guys are falling into this the brand that is Texas, and not just the brand, but like I saying, it's the culture. I mean, like it's hard for guys in college football to buy in. Like it's hard, especially in this day and age with NIL and stuff.
Mhm.
So when you got guys that really have like that kind of give a shit attitude where they care about one another, care about the program, the tradition, the everything that goes into being a national champion caliber team, I feel like they're building over there. So you can't be mad at it. You know what they got going on in Texas right now. It's probably it's fun to be a Longhorn.
No, only thing I was mad. I thought I was gonna get an Arch signing at the end. Sark kind of pulled up on the gas, but
It wasn't close
it's
enough.
good.
I mean,
It
it wasn't
wasn't.
the margin of points wasn't big enough. So
Michigan got some real problems. Hillemeier, Dave Portier, the Barstool guy. He's a fucking
he's a
Nimrod. He's a clown. Like they're bad. Ohio State is going to debacle them. Like it's
gonna get
not gonna
ugly.
be.
Michigan might mess around and lose 4 or 5
They
games.
Michigan might go back on a run of not nobody ever hearing about them again. That's why I don't like Michigan. It's a love hate respect with Michigan because y'all were good for this last season and won a championship, and then they're gonna go back to being like average as fuck or like a little bit above average and not be nothing. Their quarterback situation is terrible. I want to run down fast because I know parlay we got to move it along. Notre Dame got upset by Northern Illinois. That is a shame. Once again, Notre Dame doing the same Notre Dame shit since I was 8 years old. I had respect and love for them, and they're the same Notre Dame, and they lose to fucking people they're not supposed to lose.
For
Although
how
I
much
like
again?
Marcus Freeman.
How much did they pay? How much did they pay again?
Oh, one something million for Northern Illinois to come there, and they
One
won the game.
point four to get that ass kicked.
And
That's
Big Tommy
crazy.
Hammy with the lazy eye looking like Biggie and shit. He was very emotional in the press conference. But nevertheless, Notre Dame lose. Bama kind of was in a tough one to start. Ole Miss looking pretty good. Oregon, I don't know yet. I got to see some
Trust
more
them.
out of them. They were hyped up on to be like a very solid defense, and they've allowed over, I want to say, 70 points in the first two games. Boise State and who did they play last week? Idaho State, I think. Somebody trash. But they have their annual game coming up with Oregon State early this season now that they're in the Big Ten, so they had to switch it around. Other than that, Miami looking good. I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to just give a respect. USC looking decent. They didn't play nobody. Tennessee is going to be decent. They got a good quarterback. I like him. I can't pronounce his name, but he's a pretty good quarterback. They got a good offense. They have a very underrated defense. They're very fast, too. So it's going to be interesting. You said Texas got to play Georgia and Oklahoma back to back, but Georgia alone has to play Tennessee, you all, I believe they play Ole Miss too. So they got an uphill battle for sure. It's just gonna be interesting. It's too early to call anything right now. Let's get into late October when games start to mean something, and then we can kind of get a better picture of the seeding of the playoffs. We know Texas is gonna be in there. We know Georgia. We know Ohio State, and we know probably USC might be in there now. I mean, if they can stay undefeated and get to the Big Ten championship, they'll be good. Because I think they don't have the physicality as Michigan, but they're better this year than Michigan overall. I would say they got a better quarterback. You got to have a quarterback to win, and Michigan ain't got that. So, I mean, next week's games, I don't think we really got anything important outside of going to it right now. I think it's one game next week. No, this is too early for that. Who do we got next week? We got we do. We got Bama and Camp Randall. Uh yeah, and then Oregon State. Texas playing. Yeah, that's about it. We don't really got nothing premier. I'm tweaking. We don't really got nothing premier next week, but yeah. But Texas gonna be there, man. I mean, hey.
It comes down to the trenches, in my opinion. The offense and defensive line, especially when you're in the SEC, who can control that? And if you can control that, you got a pretty good shot to win.
Yeah.
And
So that's my rundown, parlay.
Yeah, if they can stack up against them, they'll be all right. Hunter's on mute.
Yeah, you're on mute, dude.
Hunter, you're on mute, bro. I can't hear you.
Yo, can you hear me now?
Yeah,
What was the last thing you heard?
Heard
nothing.
nothing.
Oh, oh man, I was just like thanking you for being on the show. I was like just giving you all this praise. All right, so that's our show, everybody. Dre, thank you for the college football recap, and good luck to the Niners this season. And thank you. Oh, Reese, why don't you just plug yourself real quick?
Yes, the chef.
Chef. Yeah, you can find me at Reese Cooks Foods on Instagram.
Yes, sir.
TikTok, Instagram, all that.
And
Come
TikTok.
tap
What are you
in.
making? Are you getting ready for the fall type
Yeah,
of food?
I got some shit cooking. You gonna see. Tune in.
Do a pot roast.
Do a pot roast. I got you. Say less.
All right, bet.
Say
Sounds good.
less.
All right. We're signing off. Thank you.
All right, y'all.
Look.